Kristen Pierce is an education success specialist at EVERFI. She supports educators across the U.S. and Canada as they implement EVERFI's no-cost resources related to financial literacy, STEM and career readiness, health and wellness, character education, and more. As a former high school English and EL teacher, Kristen feels passionately about equipping every student with real-world skills needed for lifelong success. Welcome, Kristen. We're glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I love that intro. We are very happy that you're joining us today. I love that some of you have already typed into the chat where you're coming from and what your role is in schools, but feel free to continue to do that as you join and throughout the presentation. We are here today. I'm from EVERFI, and we're going to talk about how you in the classroom can break barriers for students by implementing financial education with students, with your students, whether that's in a classroom or even from the tech side of things, making this program and our courses available to your students and your staff at your schools. So very happy that you're here today. All right, so this is the general plan. I know we have just about an hour together. My goal is for about the first 10 to 15 minutes to kind of just give you an overview of what is EVERFI. Maybe you've heard of us and maybe you haven't. Talk about why financial literacy is important in the classroom and why it's really appropriate for any K-12 classroom. And then the second half of the presentation will be very interactive. We are going to get you into our platform and make sure you know what courses are available and have you kind of get started, like add a course to your class, create your class, and make sure that you could use this tomorrow if you wanted to. I'm hoping a lot of you are actually on spring break, so you don't have class tomorrow, but if you do, you will be ready to use EVERFI in your classroom tomorrow. And then we'll close out. Of course, if you have questions at any point, please just type them into the chat. I am so happy to answer your questions. All right, so I know you have been introducing yourself, which is amazing. This is just a little bit about me. I am from Naperville, Illinois, so I see a few teachers from Aurora, which is not too far away, which is awesome. I grew up in Illinois, but my husband was a Marine for about 10 years, so we actually lived all over the United States. And I was, as the intro said, I was a teacher as well. Most recently, I was an EL coordinator in a district not too far away, Wheaton-Warrenville. And to me, EVERFI is so cool because so many of our courses are in Spanish and in English. So that's a huge selling point. I also just personally really like to ride my bike. I like to do yoga. And I am a mom of a 5th grader and a 7th grader. So I see, even in our like daily family discussions, when they get birthday money, they have chores and they have allowance. They are already forming these financial habits that I know are so important. And my kids, like, we talk about finances, but not all kids have access to this information. So I'm very grateful that you're here today to learn about how you might incorporate this into your classroom practice. So I think most of you have typed into the chat already, which is amazing. But I'm going to give you a moment. If you could think about a time that you had to learn a skill as you went, kind of like, you know, flying the airplane as you're in the air. I always think about when I was teaching during COVID and the pandemic and having to switch to e-learning and learning all of those new platforms. So that would be an example that I would use. For a lot of our students, the first time they have to do taxes when they're 18 and get a job is the first time they learn how to do taxes. So could you just type a comment in the chat if you're willing to mention a time you had to learn a skill as you were doing it? I'm going to give you a moment to think about that. All right. I'm going to let you think about that and feel free to type in as you go. Learning how to fix the computer. Absolutely. I feel like I'm always troubleshooting things on my computer, and sometimes I'm successful and sometimes I'm not. But please type those in and kind of keep those in mind as we go forward today, because like I said, a lot of the financial literacy skills that we're going to talk about are often students and adults just have to figure them out as they go. Ooh, that's a good one. Pulling an agitator out of a washing machine. That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like my husband is always watching YouTube videos to learn how to do something around the house. Fixing the copying machine. That's a good one. Absolutely. Microsoft Teams. So, like learning a new tool. These are excellent. Oh my gosh, teaching a teen to drive. I'm terrified of that day. But yeah, absolutely. You don't have a primer for how to do that, right? You learn from other parents, you learn from other people. These are excellent. So just like keep these in mind, right? Because a lot of times these real world skills that we need, whether it's a washing machine or Microsoft Teams or teaching our teens to drive, we're not taught that, right? We have to figure it out as we go, and we don't want our students to feel that way about their finances or their money. We want to empower them. All right. So just a little bit about EVERFI. If you're not familiar with what EVERFI is, the main thing that you need to know is that we're a free K-12 learning platform. So like I said, you are going to get logged into our platform today. You're going to make your account. We have a whole suite of K-12 courses. We're going to really hone in on the financial ed courses today. But like you saw in the intro, we'll be back in May. We have character education courses. We have STEM and career readiness. So you'll have all of those available to you when you're done today, not just the financial education. So we also have a lot of really nice resources and extension activities. Our courses are really supplemental, right? So if you want to use them for a day or maybe a week, but there's lots of ways to extend the learning beyond just what's on the digital platform. One of my favorite things, just as a former teacher, because I know your time is so precious, is we have made all of the grading is self-graded. You can see as the teacher really instantaneous feedback on assessments on how your students are doing. And you just have a lot of information at your fingertips that you don't have to work hard for, which is really nice. For a lot of the financial literacy courses, there are some excellent scholarship opportunities attached. So I will make sure to flash that slide for you. And then after the presentation is over, I'll be happy to send you the slideshow and send you the links so that you have access to those for your students. So please, any questions at any time, please just feel free to type them into the chat about our platform. One thing that I do want to mention, especially just because of this audience, is that last summer, EVERFI's platform did get the ISTE seal, which is a really big deal. And really what that means as a classroom teacher is that you know that when you use these courses and when you use our learning platform with your students, that it's a high caliber learning experience. Also, because I know we have a few tech people on the call, we do integrate with Clever and ClassLink. So if your district uses single sign-on and what you hear today, you're intrigued and you're like, our teachers should have this at their fingertips, it's very easy for us to initiate an integration. But it's really as learners, your students feel so involved in the courses and they really have fun when they get into the courses. It feels almost gamified to students. So we do have a pretty big network. Last year, we reached 5.8 million students. This year, we're hoping to hit 6. We were featured in a Super Bowl commercial for one of our character ed programs, Character Playbook. So maybe you came across us that way. But in Illinois, last year, we had almost 900 schools participating and over 180,000 students across Illinois. So super happy that you're here today and potentially can bring this to your classroom or school. Our number one question is, how is EVERFI free? What's the catch? We have very generous sponsors. So for instance, like One Main sponsors several of our financial ed courses. So they want people to grow up and be good stewards of their money because that brings them, more business. So they do a lot of outreach, and education courses. All right. So I'm hoping you're here today because you believe in the power of financial literacy. But I do just have a little bit of information about why it can be impactful. So I always hone in on this middle statistic. Almost 1 in 3 families don't talk to their kids about money. And I know that like seems staggering, but we know that all kids need this information. So if they're not talking about it at home, hopefully they're getting that information in school, right? And that's where I know you are meeting a really critical need in your classes. So just something to think about, even like one Friday or the Fridays in April, right? April's financial literacy month. Think about the impact that you could have on those kids who don't talk about money at home. Could spark some curiosity. I really like to point out that at K-12, financial literacy is happening, right? The littles are learning numeracy, right? They're learning responsible decision making. We have upper elementary and middle school courses that are a really great introduction to like basic money management, how to research, how to make an informed decision. And then, of course, as kids enter adulthood, they're really making those more complex financial decisions like filling out the FAFSA. How do I open a bank account? Why should I get a credit card when I turn 18? And what is a credit score? So it really starts happening very early on. So these are just some of the skills that our courses will help students with. There is definitely a prevention element because we know as educators that the more knowledge students have, the more empowered that they are, right? We also want our students to be resilient in terms of like dealing with emergencies because we know emergencies happen. So if students know how to budget, know why they need an emergency fund, know why payday loans are like not the best decision, right? They can deal with those emergencies in a better way, and they'll be setting themselves up for a lifetime of financial success. So this is also a slide that I just like to point out. I'm not going to go over everything, but we know the research is very clear when kids learn about financial literacy, particularly in high school, right near graduation, when they're going to make some of those big decisions, there are a lot of added benefits. Better credit scores, less debt, more likely to apply for scholarships. So kudos to you for coming today and learning about this and hopefully implementing 1 or 2 of these lessons in your classroom. Also, just want to point out, like, there's a huge emotional component to money, right? We all know that. We've all dealt with financial stress. So the more information that students have, the less stress they feel when they're facing these decisions. And that goes for adults too. I really like EVERFI because the world of finance is always changing, right? We have a class about crypto, right? We have a class about identity theft. So EVERFI is really good at staying on the cusp of what's happening and putting out, courses and information that deal with those topics. All right. So we are kind of at the point where I'm going to talk over our main courses. I'm really just going to talk about 3 courses. I saw that there were a few high school teachers on here. I did see that. But if you want to tell me what grade level you work with, that would be very helpful because it will kind of let me know where to hone in on my explanations. I know we had high school, but I definitely want to talk about our elementary and our middle school course too. All right, so we've got former middle school, we've got 9th and 10th, we've got a 4th grade. Okay, awesome. So we have a pretty good spread, 10 and 12. All right, fantastic. And so I know too, like sometimes if you're in high school, like, the high school I used to teach at, we had a consumer ed class and we had a requirement. So I know there's also differences if you're dealing with a requirement versus more like exploring this topic in your class. All right, we've got third grade too. Perfect. Okay, so this is our whole financial education suite, but the ones in purple are really like the bread and butter, the 101 courses. If you have no idea where to start, this is where I would start. So I'm going to talk about these 3 courses very briefly, and then when we get you into the platform, if you are like not sure what to start with, these would be the courses that I would suggest you add, depending on the grade level that you've, said that you work with. So I know we have all different grade levels here. One thing I just also want you to think about as we go through this, I know teachers are always thinking about this, is how can I use this in my classroom? EVERFI, like I said, is truly supplemental. So it could be an extension activity. Maybe you want to talk about budgeting. So you have them do the EVERFI lesson on budgeting before or after you've done a mini lesson. For some of the high school students and maybe even middle school, it could be totally appropriate to do divide and conquer, right? So like in our main high school course, there's 7 lessons. So maybe you break the class up into 7 groups and one group is responsible for teaching the lesson to the rest of the class. You could certainly do that. We have a lot of really good supplemental activities. So you could have students do the lesson on their own and then do a partner or group activity. Like we have some Canva products. They could, create something. You could have them do something a little more creative like that if you wanted to. You can also absolutely just have students sit down, do the work independently, put in their headphones, listen to some of the videos, do the pre and post assessment. And you can absolutely have them do that independently. So all of these are appropriate, but just think about how you would want to use this in your classroom. All right. So like I said, I'm going to talk about these 101 courses, but we do have a lot of other specialty courses that you certainly could use in your classrooms. So for the 3rd grade teacher and 4th grade teacher, this is probably going to be the class for you. I think it's suggested for grades 4 to 6, but I think at this point in the year, 3rd grade students could absolutely tackle this. But Vault is our upper elementary financial literacy course. It's very fun. You can kind of see in the corner here, students are like sucked into a portal and they have to help other kids make good financial decisions to get out. So they talk about goal setting, career readiness, borrowing money. And this course is also available in Spanish. It's really fun. My daughter in 5th grade has done a part of it and she really enjoyed it. For the middle school teacher, yes, it is available in French. We actually have a really large Canadian audience. So several of our courses are available in French. Sorry, I didn't mention that. If you are in middle school, grades 6 through 8, our 101 course is called Future Smart. This is a bit longer. So it is 6 lessons that are 25 minutes each, right? Which is age appropriate. But this is also available in Spanish. It's really, like I said, gamified, but there's pre and post assessments. It's really rooted in, digital pedagogy. But it teaches students all about how to make sound financial decisions. So I'm going to actually click into this slide so you can watch the animation. But students become mayor of a town and they have to help the citizens of the town make informed decisions. So students will learn about shopping on a budget. So like, I only have this much money. What am I going to buy for my bedroom to make it over? Or there's a little bit of a teaser in lesson 4 to learn about investing and savings accounts. Lessons 5 is all about, creating a business plan and growing a business. The final capstone lesson is they build their financial blueprint. So they kind of align their personal financial goals with, their financial plan. There is definitely an element of math, as you can see, like with the unit prices and adding up the budget. So this is sometimes used in math classes or across content areas. It could totally be used in an advisory or a homeroom as well. Oh, that's interesting about the French. I do like this course too because there's a little bit of career interests and career survey that they think about as they think about their future schooling and the training that it would involve. So you can see the student experience a bit here. When we get you into the platform, you can also experience the course as a student and preview what they would see. But I was actually just last week, we were in Chicago in a bunch of CPS schools, and this course is so fun. Students like don't even realize that they're learning or doing math. So it's just a really great course. I also want to throw this out here. So I'll put at the end, EVERFI K-12 has a really big social media following. So, I mean, this is where I got some of my best ideas. So I don't know if the sound will be great, but I just want to show you this teacher does the lesson in Future Smart on budgeting, and then she does like a target activity with her students. So I'm just going to play this for you. All right. So just kind of a little idea there for how to pair our lesson with something that's really like fun and, kinetic and students can enjoy. All right. So I also do like to point out that this course is attached to an awesome scholarship opportunity. This could be a great extension activity if students do a certain amount of lessons. If they do 3 of the lessons in class with you, and then they show you that they applied for the scholarship, that could be a little like extra credit or something like that. It is a $2,000 to $5,000 opportunity, and 22 students across the U.S. Will win. So the second round is due at the end of the school year. So this is something that we really like to talk about because it's just such a good opportunity. So again, I will make sure that the links get shared with you after the presentation, but I'll direct you to where the scholarship page is as well. So the other middle school courses, we have a lot more specialty courses, but I don't want to bore you to death with talking. So like I said, once you get into the platform, it's really easy to filter and explore. I do like to point out this course, Venture. It's for upper middle and lower high school. So I know there were some 9th and 10th grade teachers here. It's called Venture, and it's all about entrepreneurship. So I've seen teachers use this like in art class, like to talk about if I want to sell my stuff on Etsy or if I want to start an art business. Obviously, this could be used in a business class, but this is a course that's really easy to use across contents, but it's also just really related to like, if I want to start a business, what does that look like? What do I do? So this is a really great option if you just want to do, like a couple days worth of financial literacy, a couple class periods. All right, I'm almost done talking, I promise. I don't see any questions in the chat, but if you have questions, please feel free to type them in. The high school courses, because I know we have a few high school teachers here, 9th, 10th, and 12th graders, we have more of them, right? Because there's just more specialty courses. but I'm just going to briefly talk about this 101 course, which is called EVERFI Financial Literacy. But we do have a ton of specialty courses. If your students are interested, if you have an interest, they are so great. Like we have a crypto course, right? We have a data science course, which is so cool. Like what is data science? What even is that? It didn't exist when I was, in high school. So we have some really cool specialty courses. But I do want to talk about our main course, EVERFI. So this is 7 lessons, 35 minutes. So you could certainly, like, if you wanted to do the first week of April was financial literacy week in your classroom, you certainly could with EVERFI. This is really a broad overview of really what students need to know about financial decision making. It is available in Spanish, which is fantastic. And I'm going to let the animation play here while I talk. So the 7 lessons are listed here. What I do think is worth mentioning is students do not have to complete these in order. So if you're like, I have seniors after spring break, they are done. They do not care about anything. I only want them to do the credit card unit. You can do that. You can absolutely do that. So you can have your students get into the program and just say, do this lesson. Because some of these your students are going to have more of an interest in than others. But you can see it's, again, it feels very interactive to students. They select what is important to them, their financial values. They learn there's a tax simulation element to lesson 2. They learn about smart shopping. They learn about health insurance. And we even have a couple of extra specialty courses that dive into that into more depth. So just a lot of like really crucial information that gets covered. And then at the end of the course, if students do all of the lessons, of course, they do get certified. So I also want to point out that this course is attached to a scholarship. I did mention the tax simulations. April 15th could be a great day. Have students just say, students, pick one of the tax simulations to complete and let's see what you learn. So that's coming up. But the scholarship opportunity for this course is fantastic as well. It's $2,000 to $3,000. They would need to do 3 of those 7 lessons to be eligible. So again, another potential, extension activity or something to plug, especially for your juniors and seniors who college feels a lot more immediate. So this is, very valuable to them. Okay, that's a lot of talking. I want to make sure that we get you into the platform and that I can do some demos. So I'm going to skip through a lot of these specialty course slides, but I will show you as a teacher in the platform how to kind of find out what's available to you. So like I said, we have a lot of financial ed offerings. We do have several more scholarship opportunities, but I want to make sure we all get into the platform. All righty. So this is definitely, I'm hoping you're at a computer, but if you're on a phone, you can absolutely do this on your phone as well. But I want to make sure that we're in the second half here, that you get into the platform and that I show you around so that you feel comfortable using the platform. So if you'd like to scan the QR code, you can, but you can also just go to everfi.com/new teacher. Thank you, Matt. And then I'll give you a minute to grab that link, but I will walk you through how to create an account if you don't already have one. Thank you, Matt. All right, so that link is living in the chat. So I'm going to advance my slide here. So once you get to that link, if you do not have Clever or ClassLink at your district, this is probably the most common way that people will be logging in right now. You're just going to follow the prompts, enter your country, find your school, and then fill out your profile, preferably using your school email, unless you really want to use your personal email. So I'm going to give you a few moments to do that. I know that logging in the first time can take a minute. If you do have Clever or ClassLink and your district is already integrated, you could certainly search for the EVERFI app on your SSO homepage. So I think depending on where the teacher's in Aurora, if you're in IPSD 204, you might already be integrated. If you're in a different district, might not have SSO. So I'm going to leave this one up. The hyperlink remains in the chat if you are still navigating, but I do want to take a few minutes just to show you some of the different features. So I will show you, I might need to relog in. I will show you on my screen. So feel free on your, like, I know you might not be on a dual screen. So if you're navigating tabs, feel free to like switch around. But I think the best way to understand the awesomeness of our platform is to be in it, to be in the platform. So just a couple of things. Obviously, your name is up there. For you and for students, you may notice this language tab. It's very easy to navigate back and forth between languages for you and for students. I do want to point out that if the course is not available in Spanish, then obviously you can't navigate back and forth, but the platform itself at least will be in Spanish. So that's really easy. Oops, I need to go back here. And then your platform is very similar to other LMSs. So you will live as the teacher up here in the upper left. What we're going to focus on right now is exploring courses. But we will definitely show you how to add a course and add a class in just a moment. So under Explore Courses, what I would strongly encourage you to do is use the filters. You can see we have over 40 classes, which is amazing. You have access to all of them, but you want to hone in on your grade level or your subject. So say, I know we had some elementary teachers here. So say I'm like, well, I have third graders and I have some gifted, kids. I could probably do fourth grade too. So I set up my filters. Oops, I didn't hit apply. That would help. And then that will really narrow the courses that I'm looking at. So that narrows it to 7, right? And I know we're focusing on financial literacy in this webinar, but like I said, we have lots of other courses that are fantastic. So I'm going to scroll into Vault just because we talked about that course, but I would click into the details of a course that you're interested in right now. So all the good stuff for the teacher is in details. So I'm going to click on that. And this is where you get kind of the behind the scenes information. So again, it reiterates the lessons and the timing. I will show you in a moment what it looks like to preview the course. But a lot of times teachers just jump into the preview. I want to point out all this stuff down here because it's really valuable. We do have a curriculum guide, so you can look at that and see how the course aligns with your standards. And what vocabulary is used and, kind of like what's going to happen in each module. We do have, for the specific lesson, we have a lesson plan to go with it. So if you wanted to kind of think about what this might look like in your classroom, you can certainly click on the lesson plan. These are quite involved, but they are valuable because it can give you a sense of like the timing of the lesson or how you might lead a discussion or something like that. There's also so much other good stuff in the resources and student activities. So if you're looking at a course, just click into either of those tabs, resources or student activities. I mentioned like we had a lot of Canva activities. You can just open these and you can assign them to students, right? They're ready to go. We have some pair decks that are ready-made for you to use. So this is just like a nice feature that our goal is really to make these courses like easy for you to use and impactful with your students. and have stuff just kind of ready to click download at the moment. Yes, Pear Deck is awesome. We do have some really good Pear Decks as well. And even if you don't have a premium subscription to Pear Deck, you can just open the slides in Google Slides and use them with your students. So that is kind of like the goal, is that you find something in the extra resources too that allows you to build the lesson out in the way that's appropriate for your class. I've got too many tabs open, so this is moving really slow, but I promise the Pear Decks do exist. Okay, so while that's spinning, I'll come back. I do just kind of want to show you also the preview course feature. So whatever course you're in right now, I suggest you click preview. You will experience it as the students will experience it. Also moving. Oh, there's Pear Deck finally. So this will bring you into the platform just as though you were a student. The only thing you won't see is the pre-assessment. Students will do like a 5-question pre-assessment just to gauge their learning, but you will jump right into the lesson itself. So you can see for elementary, right, this is chunked so that it's a very small amounts of information. It feels very friendly and fun, and students are kind of getting introduced to like the content very, in a very easy way. So I do want to point out too, once you get to this screen or whatever modules you're looking at for whichever course, reminders, you do not have to do these in order, right? It's suggested that you go in order, but if you are doing a lesson on careers with your 3rd or 4th graders and you only want them to do module 3, you can absolutely do that. So that's an option for you as a teacher. So there's one more thing I want to show you, and then I'm going to give you like 5 minutes to actually add a class and add a course to the class. So the final thing that I want to show you is just how to create a class, how to actually assign this to students, right? So if you click add to class, you likely, since you're new users, will create a new class. Now, this is where if you have Clever or a ClassLink, lucky you, because you will be able to pull your rosters, right? You'll see different rosters available here, but you're going to give your class a name, right? So I think this was like 3rd grade. And then your start date is just really up to you. It's when you think you're going to start. I think I'm going to do this in April because April is Financial Literacy Month. I have 30 something 3rd graders, and the grade level is really just to get additional suggestions. So you can put multiple grades. I know there's like a 10th and a 12th grade teacher. You can put multiple grades, and then you are going to click create class. And there you go. You've got a class. You can, if you have older students like middle school or high school, maybe even upper elementary, you can share this code with them on Google Classroom. Like you can just pretty much copy all of these links and the code. You can also create student accounts if you would like to. It's a little bit more work on your end, but I know for younger students, sometimes that's just an easier option. So I want to just give you like 4 or 5 minutes of time to explore the courses and create one class, like assign a course to a class. So I am going to leave up the slide that has kind of the names of the courses that you might want to check out. But please, as questions, or if you want to know more about a certain course, I'm so happy to answer them. Matt, I didn't think about this, but I should have had some music ready to go. All right, so I will leave that course list up. Please, thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. All right. I hope you had time to like explore the classes and to maybe create a class. So one more thing that I just want to demo for you is how, like, what the gradebook looks like and what kind of data you can see as a teacher. So if you want to look at my screen or my tab on your device, you certainly can. So I have a lot of classes created for different things. Even if you have Clever, you will not see any student data until they actually log in the first time. So don't worry about that. The only students I can actually show you are like my real children, Donovan and Livy Pierce. So I click into the course name that I want to look at. And from here, you can see student progress really easily. So my son is older. He's not actually doing this course, but my daughter in 5th grade, she actually decided to start on the 3rd lesson, Income and Careers, which is totally fine. So I can click on her assessment score. It is green because she showed mastery there. And I can actually see the questions that she answered. This can be helpful if a student got something incorrect and they're just not sure what to revisit, like what part of the lesson to revisit. So that's useful as a teacher. And I can even see what page she's on. Like I could be like, Livy, you've only got like 2 more minutes on budgeting. Just log in and do that, during your independent work time. If a student does not show mastery, if it's below 70, it will be red, and they can always retake that until they show mastery. The goal, of course, is for them to learn. So you can encourage them to retake that. So when you're looking at your student data, one other thing that you may notice is on your teacher dashboard, there's a little like rewards thing with a trophy. Once there is a number in there, like once students are in there, that means they're eligible for those scholarships we spoke about. So a student could complete like half of the course and be eligible for the reward, but not be certified yet, if that makes sense. So on the student dashboard, they have a link to the scholarships, but the scholarship website is just everfi.com/scholarships. Sorry. And I'll make sure, again, it's in the comments, but I'll make sure you get that after the webinar today. So that's kind of what you can see from the teacher perspective. Of course, you can see your students and reset their passwords if you need to do anything like that. But you do have a lot of information pretty available at your fingertips as you start to use these classes. So I'm going to go back to the presentation, and I'm going to start closing out here in the next couple of minutes. I just have like a few things that we want you to know about and how to get help if you need help. But yeah, I thank you, Matt. Please, if you have comments, please type them in the chat, or if you have questions, or if you're like, my school needs to set up Clever integration, just type that in the comments and I will make sure to follow up with you about that. So one thing that we really like to talk about, you may have actually noticed in your teacher dashboard, I will show you right here, this lovely invite a teacher button. We have a really great referral program. I mean, that's how we spread the word about our programs. So if you invite a teacher pal and they start using EVERFI through that link that you send them, you will get a $15 Amazon gift card. No questions asked. So if you invite your whole 10th grade PLC, amazing, you will get, 5 Amazon gift cards or whatever the case may be. They just have to use the link that you send them. That's the one caveat. So that's really awesome because you just get to spread the good news about a free program. So think about that. The other thing I want to point out is we do have a really strong support network. So if you encounter problems, if you're having Clever difficulties, there's a lot of different ways on your dashboard to get help. You can email us. You can use the live chat bot down here. And there's a little help center icon pop up as well that will bring you to like our YouTube page and some other like articles and things that you can, if you want to get the help yourself. So that is kind of like the last piece of information, I'm going to leave this slide up here to close. I mentioned earlier, we have a really strong EVERFI K-12 social network. That's how we share a lot of ideas and, events that are happening. Like if the Blackhawks they just sponsored a STEM event that was really cool. So a lot of times that's how teachers find out about those things. But I'm really glad that you came today. I'm thinking back to some of your responses at the beginning, like replacing the agitator on the dishwasher and like learning Microsoft Teams and all of the different things that you spoke about learning as you go. And I just hope that in your classrooms, especially next month in Financial Literacy Month, that you can be like for kids, you can be that space where they're learning those real world skills of money management and decision making without, with low stakes, without without being in it yet. So I really commend you for coming today after school or after a long day. And I hope you find this platform useful. And we are here if you have questions. We are so happy to help you, and we appreciate what you're doing in your classrooms.